first thing we need to do before we start actually putting our pattern on fabric is that we need to trim it. And this particular pattern, the big one, has about 1/4 inch all the way around it. So we're not going to trim it. It's got about an extra 1/4 inch. That's okay. We're just going to set this one aside. But the two smaller ones need to be separated first of all, and then we need to trim some around them. So 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch is about that much. Not a whole lot. Maybe about half the size of the length of your fingernail if you have a fairly short fingernail. Not a huge amount. But we don't want to cut directly on the line. We want to leave a little bit of extra. So I have some paper scissors, and the first thing that I'm going to do, this is the piece that has the pocket and the loop on it. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is take my paper scissors. Don't use fabric scissors for paper, it dulls the blades. And I'm going to trim off about 1/4 inch to separate the two. Then, again, not cutting directly on the line, I'm leaving about 1/4 inch all the way around this piece. Okay? Don't forget, we're going to recycle this paper. We're not going to throw it in the trash. And certainly not on the floor. So this one has about 1/4 inch. I'm going to trim just a little bit off of this side. It's a little bit more than 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to trim 1/4 inch off the bottom. Now, this particular side right here says place on the fold. Place on the fold. And it's kind of special. What I want you to do is, on that particular one, take your pencil or your pen and write, do not cut here. Make it in all capital letters to remind us. Now, we're going to trim the pattern, that's one thing, but when we actually cut the fabric, we are not going to cut at this line right here because our pocket actually is double this width. So right now this is a little over 6 inches wide. When we get done, this pocket piece is going to be about 13.5 inches because it's going to be cut from 2 layers. So I need to cut really close to this edge and very straight because when I put this on the fabric, this is going to be right on the edge of the fabric, the folded edge of the fabric. So very carefully, I am going to cut. Now, if you notice, I'm right-handed, and so I cut counterclockwise. That allows me to see what I'm cutting, and I don't have the scissors between me and what I'm cutting. If I try to cut this way, I actually have the scissors between me and the line that I'm trying to cut. So if you're right-handed, you should always cut counterclockwise. If you're left-handed, on the other hand, you need to cut clockwise because then you don't have the scissors between you and the part that is going to be trimmed off. So let me finish trimming this. And again, try to be really, really careful and straight because having a nice straight edge here is going to be really important for when we put it on the fabric. So now that you have these two pieces trimmed and you have your, you didn't have to do anything to the big one, we're now ready to start putting the pieces on the fabric.